Join me when I visit Eleanor Morris outside Gothenburg in her atelier.
Hej, hej.
Hej.
Välkommen.
Hej. Kul att se dig. Ja, vad fint att ha det här.
Ja, jag har massa bilder, konstnärer där
Ah.
i korridoren. Så
Oj, du har fått i ordning.
Ja, maskinerna har sina plats nu.
Härligt, underbart.
Och så är vi full gång.
I'm very happy to introduce Eleanor Morris to the Chain of Sounds family. We will speak a lot about bass making, sound, wood, and whatever comes up in our nerdish minds. I am Nisse Palm, but Eleanor, who are you?
I'm a bass repairer who I work just outside Gothenburg. Born and grew up in Zimbabwe. And I started playing in the orchestra, playing music. I played the flute, but there was no one to play the double bass. My grandfather had a double bass, so I was like one of about 3 people in the country who played double bass.
Wow.
And then I went to South Africa and studied a bit more. And it was I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with that. And then I got the opportunity to study violin making in Norway. There was a project between Norway and Zimbabwe that they were going to train up a lot of instrument makers, and we were going to go back and start a school and there was going to be all sorts of instrument making and repairs and stuff in Zimbabwe. And this was in 2000. So we were 10. We moved to Norway and in the middle of the winter from Zimbabwe, and
Quite shocking, right?
Yeah. And yeah, it was great. It was great. It was learned a lot, and I got my violin making thing in. I got both the qualification in Norway and in Germany. We did our exams in Germany, and we had teachers from there. But the school that we were supposed to start, that didn't ever get off the ground. So we weren't allowed to stay in Norway. That was like the condition. It's like, yes, you can be here, we can study for 4 years, everything is paid for, it was wonderful. But you have to promise that you're not going to stay. Well, I was able to move to Sweden when I was finished. Things were a bit difficult in Zimbabwe. My family's still there, but it's like to earn a living as a instrument repair or violin repair. It doesn't. You can't really live there.
No.
So I started repairing violins, and then someone heard that I played double bass, and it just very quickly changed.
The rest is history, right? Yeah. Yes. And as you might have noticed, we spoke Swedish when we arrived a while ago here. So Eleanor speaks excellent Swedish, I would say. Definitely fluent.
Well, I've lived here for 20 years this year.
20 years,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started, my first workshop was at NAS. It's Slöjd Seminariet. It's they call it Sweden's window to the world, because 100 years ago it was very famous for woodwork teaching, and they used to teach. Woodwork teachers would come from all over the country and all over the world, would come for summer courses there, and it would have kind of life-changing experiences together. It was and this wonderful old building, and so I had a workshop there for a long time, and it was wonderful, but it got too small and I couldn't get any more space, so I had to find a bigger place. And so it's quite it's not so far, it's a little bit closer into town, and it's like much more space, and it's a wonderful environment as well.
The
So,
environment
yeah.
is fantastic.
It's like this. I mean, you're not going to see all this from the footage, but it's like kind of a light industrial area just outside of town, and it's kind of like there's a lot of like car workshops and I don't know, manufacturing and old factory buildings, and then like you just kind of like go down this under the bridge there, and then there's like a nature reserve and a water and a Kraftwerk. It's like a electricity production and the water and these like really old buildings. This was like a textile factory.
Very
rustic and
Yeah.
charming. Yeah, I really like it.
You are not only a base maker, you are also a kind of you're a inventor in some parts as well, right?
Maybe, but in the way that you have to be, if you're working with bases, you have to like be looking for creative solutions because we get thrown so many weird problems. So you have to, I mean, having that kind of like, oh, how am I going to fix this problem? And it's
You said
kind of goes with
before
the
that
territory.
you said that you've sometimes feel that you've seen it all, but all of a sudden,
Yeah, every time I say that, then I say see something new.
okay. So, what are your thoughts about foldable necks and making travel bases, I should say?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, we talk a lot with colleagues. It's like, there's quite a few of us who are making bases with removable necks. I mean, I think foldable bases, I think, are the Chadwick, which really did fold up. But that's sadly not, they're not making those anymore.
No.
But yeah, I think it's the future because it's becoming more and more difficult to travel with instruments, travel safely with them because unfortunately, there's just not the respect for people's belongings in the air industry.
No, we've read terrible stories about airlines crashing bases and other instruments as well, of course. And the costs, that's one thing. In terms of sound and foldable bases, or we say traveling removable necks and some stuff, are there, I mean, can you prove that it's a better sound or the same sound?
It's a good question because I think like up until kind of fairly recently, people have thought, oh, if you're going to have a travel base, you've got to make a compromise. There's got to be a compromise. It's got to be smaller. You've got to like you've got to do this or do that, and then people come up with all these solutions. But if you make a real base with a neck that you can remove, you can still have the same. You've solved the problem of you can travel with it, and you still have a real base. The strange thing is, I can't say proof now, but I've converted a few bases to.
I didn't mean to provoke you not in any way. It's just it's a situation that appears all the time. That,
yes, I just want so like every time that I've removed a neck and put it back on again. I mean the process of making it removable on simpler instruments. I can't say if it was that process because almost always I'm doing some other kind of correction or setup thing. But every time they say, oh, but it's better. The bass sounds better than it did before. And my colleagues say the same thing. And when we're building a bass with a removable neck, why do they sound so great?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not proof. We don't know yet. We don't have enough. But there's like strong.
It's very subjective,
yes,
right?
Yeah. And I think every bass has its personality.
Yeah. In terms of models, you make your own model, or
Yeah. I make my own models. Maybe it's like a kind of like a control freak thing. I don't know, because I was trained as a violin maker, and there you make you choose a Stradivarius model or a Guarneri, or you choose your model and you copy it, and it's like the measurements to like within tenths of millimeters, and it's there's very little. Of course, like as you get like if I was to carry on with violin making, you would could go in different directions, but it's still within a very narrow margin. And for me, bass, there's so much variety in bass. Like how do you choose? And the way I approach my making is I come up with a concept. So far I've just been made on commission, so I haven't made like my own model yet, and I think I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I mean, they are my own models, but it's like, okay, what is required in the situation, and what is the play like, and that you've got your kind of the concrete variables that you're in control of, and that's more scientific and more, the principles of acoustics. You're working from basic principles, and I work a lot with geometry as well, because for various reasons. I could just go on and on and on about that, but my idea in having a concept, having an idea, what I want to achieve, and then I have that there, and then everything I do is kind of moving towards that, because I can control some things, but there's just so much. There's so much that I don't know. But if I've got an idea of where I'm going, then I feel that everything that I'm doing, all the thicknessing, all the feel, all the shape, it's moving both logically and consciously and subconsciously is moving towards that ideal, that point. And then hopefully the finished bass is going to in some way reflect my original idea.
Wow.
And that's the difference between there's so many beautiful instruments to copy and so many beautiful models, and often players will say, oh yeah, I want that model, but the one thing that I can do differently that is to make it unique for just that player. But I'm building so few, so if I want to build one, then it's going to be really special. And yeah.
So you're do you think it's important to put your sign like your, I mean, you put your soul in it, but how do I see that it's an Eleanor Morris bass?
I don't know yet. I've only made 3. I'm working on my 4th.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a beautiful explanation, I think. I mean, it's the artist side of making creative things in whatever you do. You like to put your soul into it, right? Yeah. So there are many parts in picking the right material and stuff, of course. And speaking about material, ebony.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah. I know you're quite, your eyes lit up all of a sudden. Yeah. I know you're very involved in the sustainable use of alternatives.
Just to say that I really love working with. I love ebony as a wood and working with it. And I mean, it's got its problems, and it's the smell, and that it's hard, but it's wonderful to work with. But we're not going to have it at the rate it's being used. We're not going to have access to it in the future. And we need to. So I've just up here.
We will speak more about the alternatives separately in some other parts in the Chain of Sounds, but let's continue with your knowledge. I know you have been. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
go on.
just show
Go
you
ahead.
what I have here. So so I got two boards here. There are other alternatives, but for bases, it's like sauna wood and stuff. But
It's
because bases are so big, there's like limitations to the technology.
course.
So
yeah.
so what? But yeah,
We can hear.
yeah.
The,
You can hear that.
yeah.
It's so, but
so
so this rings because it's wood.
it's wood, but this is
That is very stable. You don't want a fingerboard that's ringing
no
because it's gonna be taking energy from the
string.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so we could by sound identify. Yeah.
Yes. So, but in terms of preparing it and working with it,
So this is called Gaiatone.
Gaiatone.
Yeah. I have been in touch with Kathy Riley at Vermont Violins, and she's a very she's got a lot of knowledge. She's a very interesting person too. She's like spearheaded this whole project.
Yeah.
Because like on the violin side, they've gone further with alternatives. There's Corrine, there's sauna wood, but with basses, it's so large, and that you need big machines, and how do you know if anyone's gonna
Exactly.
buy it? Like I think if it was sauna wood, it's just like they can't make it in those, they can't really make it in bass size, and it would be prohibitively expensive.
We would say, yeah.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, the thing with sauna wood is it's compressed wood. So for a violin-sized fingerboard, maybe it's which you're ending up like that, and you would start off with a piece of wood like that.
Yeah.
But for a bass fingerboard, you would need like a really big piece of wood to compress down to bass. So there are physical limitations.
Yeah, and probably very expensive machines, and you have to start on a high level, which is costly, of course. So
so this is made with recycled paper and a natural resin. So it's and it's it's like so important. It's like having a good fingerboard, and I mean, like if you're working with basses, like one of the things that you're doing all the time is correcting fingerboards, and it's a lot of work. And this is even harder to work with than ebony. It's harder than ebony, and it's really really tough on the tools. But so it's like how do we fix that problem? So
So planing them is a tough work.
It's except that there is now they've worked on a carbide steel blade.
Okay.
So that's coming. I think it's about to be available. So that's something. But this is it's because it's so stable. They can basically finish it at the factory.
Yeah.
So we had like big discussions with the makers, and there's a guy called Joey Nagar who's like really like nerded in for fingerboards.
Yes.
You can find on the,
Okay.
Yeah. So he gave some recommendations, and they came up with this template or
the ratio and everything is fixed.
And I'm happy to say it's like quite similar to what I do. I mean, even though I've come from a different, it's like so. Like I'm happy that yes, this I think this is a good.
Well, the disadvantage of this is that we are commercially not enough many bass players, so
Yeah.
it takes a lot of money to make one.
It does, and I really like applaud the work that they've done to actually making it
impressive.
possible, and at a price that is so like this fingerboard I get from Hoft from European suppliers. It's a good quality board. It's not easy to get quality ebony. A lot of people are having problems, but they've got a supply, but like if I the price, it's about the same now.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, a little bit slightly cheaper for the Gaia tone, but the difference, and other people still have supplies of cheaper ebony. So for them, they say no, but I'm still going to use the ebony because we've got, or they've got their stocks of ebony. And I say, oh, don't you want to try a Gaia tone? He's like, oh yeah, but we still got to use up this. So I think it's going to come. We just have to be patient. But and also the other thing is the cost. Yes, it's expensive. It's as expensive as a good ebony board, but it's much less work.
I know that you have been experimenting a lot with alternative wood.
The first instrument I made with ash. And so it was like it was a special instrument, and there's been we made a video about it, and it's kind of like sort of viral, and people are still like contacting me about the thing. So that instrument, yeah. So my apprentice Tommy is making a copy of that bass.
Yes.
So it's like it's nice to have another one.
Yeah. As far as we know, has there been any other basses made from ash?
Oh yeah. It's quite. It's not unusual.
Okay.
And I think like some maybe 15, 20 years ago, I thought it was Guru Horst Grunet made one entirely of ash. I think even the top was ash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like it's a lovely material. What we found with it was that it was so responsive. The sound, and it was like it made a wonderful solo bass. And it had like amazing sustain, and we put responsive bracing in the back, and it was just like it's just like so much sound.
Oh, yeah.
Like wonderful for a solo, but for touring around and miking it up, and it was difficult. It needed difficult to get properly amplified. So this is a fine Italian, lovely old Italian bass that's played
and the top is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, it's a wonderful instrument, but it had a wolf, a new wolf. I'm not quite sure why. We tried different things, and then we just try, have you tried switching it off and starting it? So we opening it up and putting it back together again, and see if there's like some tension that gets released there. So I'm just doing like small details, so because it's I want it to be as perfect. There's always there's always little damage, but there's always a bit of damage. So I fill that in with wood shavings.
Yeah.
So that it's back to the original, and then I'll do it.
Can we take a look at the top?
Yeah.
Is it possible? Old Italian love.
Yeah. I mean, the instrument was in the United States for a long time. So when it was bought, it was in quite a bad condition. Yeah. So it was completely renovated by Robbie McIntosh.
Ooh,
so you can
this.
Yeah. I mean, can you see that there's like he put in a piece of wood right through the.
Ooh. No.
You can't even see it.
No.
It's like if you look very, very carefully, there's a line there, and a line there, but it's almost impossible to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful,
can
beautiful
we-
work.
Can we
Yeah, I don't
show
even know
this
if it
for the
will,
camera
if the camera will pick it up. I don't know.
with the lights? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and so,
like
so it's a reinforcement on the
I
inside.
always get the Holy Grail feeling when I touch instruments like this.
Yeah.
You know, it's who does it belong to? Is it an orchestra instrument? Or?
But Hans Adler is the principal of the Gothenburg Symphony
Hey Hans,
Orchestra.
it's a good friend of mine. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually guessed it was a GSO instrument.
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
Wow. And this instrument, maybe we can show it in the vault, because I will visit the orchestras and look at their basses in the vault.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice, yeah.
So
Yeah.
this baby might show up then,
Yeah,
right?
there's some wonderful instruments in Gothenburg.
So I've been
Yeah,
told.
yeah. I don't know. Did you hear the story about the bass of the opera in the opera orchestra? They bought a bass. It's like the late 1500s.
Oh, okay. Gasparo da Salo, 1585.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, the dendrochronology, the youngest tree is from like 1570s, and the earliest one is like 1300 something. It's the most beautiful, and the grain is like the most beautiful grain you've ever seen. It's like fine and straight lines. It's just on a like 70.
You should see her eyes now. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And geography, geometry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So like when I look at instruments, I want to if I want to design my own instruments, I've got to figure out how people did it before, and they had using geometry to quickly sketch out, like if you're a tailor and you take measurements from a person, and then you can draft out a pattern for a jacket or something. They used to do that for instruments, and how did they do that? There's no record, because it was just, they could just say, oh, you do it like this, you do this, and then you do this, and you do that with their ruler and thumb.
Yeah.
It was easy to explain much easier to explain to someone and show than it is to write down. It's just like a way of looking at it. I don't know if this was the way they made it, but I just look for relationships and compare different instruments and see if they have the same relationships. So like what one thing is having, so the widest point here is like halfway between the upper corners, or the lower corners and the bottom, and that you see that a lot. Or that there's like a 5 to 4 relationship,
Yeah.
and that's very common. It's not, but not always. There's different ones, and if you want to understand how the shapes work and what makes a harmonious shape,
It's all connected.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Definitely.
see if you can hunt down this instrument
Yes, I
and
will.
talk to you on Erkenberg, and you'll get a good story there.
You can follow my hunt for finding this instrument.
It might be the most expensive bass in the world now.
This one, yes. Wow. If basses could speak, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap it up here. This
Okay.
this was a beautiful talk. Thank you, Eleanor, for letting me come here. Thank you.